I tried to think of other stages not from bosses, but I kept coming back to Null Spectator, I think because it is the best stage of the entire game that did everything right. The rest of the game notwithstanding, and certain aspects of the gameplay didn't really hold up compared to other games. Even from the very beginning, you start with a double boost and break out of null space, which should have been more implemented as a level. But as soon as you break out of there and the theme song kicks in, like, this is in high gear. We are taking down Infinite and Eggman. And I'll still stand by it. It is the best design stage of the entire game, because not only are you rail grinding through the entire stage, there are multiple paths to take, which is very rare in the entirety of the game. There is very little of multiple paths in any other stage. Not as much as Generations would do, but definitely there, with multiple grind rails, multiple instances where you can actually switch between Sonic and your avatar as you take down all the badniks. And not to mention, visually, it's so gorgeous. I mean, it's no Casino Forest or Park Avenue, but definitely the white vistas really shone bright. And what I really like about this, and as well as other levels, is that the ending part of the stage continues into the story. Like with Aqua Road, where you arrive at Eggman's base and find the Phantom Ruby, or at the end of Metropolis Highway, where you see Infinite in the background. This time you're going towards Eggman and Infinite atop a rooftop. Maybe not everyone's favourite, and Forces is not everyone's cup of tea, but it's definitely the best stage of the entire game, bar none. I'll always say that water levels do not work well in Sonic's favour. They really don't. Nearly every water stage, or at least a stage that has water in it, completely ruins the flow and momentum of that stage. But Hydrocity did it right. Yes, it had slowdown, but at least there was platforming and certain obstacles to work around. But it also had a lot of instances in both acts where you could speed across the water, through the water, up and down pipes, and it is such a thrilling stage that is set underwater. And having a good water stage is such a paradox. Not to mention the music is so catchy. I prefer Act 1 over Act 2, just to be honest. And I was so stoked when it actually became a main stage in Sonic Mania. Seeing it recreated for a new generation was great, but I didn't really like it as much. Maybe because Act 2 took away some of that uniqueness. Added some boats to move across. There was boss fight against Eggman where you actually use his Eggomatic against him, but the actual Act 2 boss was just the Act 1 boss from Sonic 3, and that kind of hinders the whole experience for Hydrocity. Is I don't like the Act 1 boss fight. And yeah, I will say, Hydrocity in Sonic 3 is better than Hydrocity in Sonic Mania. Sonic Adventure is probably one of my favourite Sonic games of all time. And I had to pick a good stage that I like replaying over and over. It had to be Windy Hill. Not just because the third part of the stage uses Green Grove from Sonic 3D, but it feels like an actual Sonic level that expanded on what Emerald Coast did. Like I mentioned in the Home Attack video where you can actually utilize a Home Attack very early on, this one reintroduced it with the propeller islands where you can actually chain them across and use chaining as an advantage. And it was definitely useful later on in the game. Not to mention it had a real sense of speed, especially in Act 3. And I like to notice like the different parts of Windy Hill. The first part is just going forward. You see just all these badniks, this vistas, all this running across on the air. Part 2, it was going vertically up a tornado, which was very unique. And then Part 3 is going down, and that had a great sense of speed. Going down, circling around, running up and down walls, it was thrilling. Yeah, you had no control, but just seeing Sonic speed across was definitely something else. Not to mention, personally, me and my brother had a bit of a speedrunning contest of who could actually beat this stage quickest. I think I won last time. While a lot of people would say the best level in Sonic Heroes would be Seaside Hill because it was in Sonic Generations, or maybe Grand Metropolis because of how unique the city looked, I would say the best stage is definitely Final Fortress, because not only is it a test of skill, but everything you've learned in the entire game, you know, what character does what the team formations are used for during the actual stage, and the team blasts and the weaknesses of all the badniks you come across, not to mention the E2000 being a pain in the ass. but each team felt unique. Sonic was very basic, Team Rose was easy, Team Dark was hard, and Team Chaotic was more mission-based, but it wasn't really a mission to do for Team Chaotic. Every team had to go through the entire stage. Some was a bit easier than the others, obviously, with certain bandits appearing, like instead of no egg hammers, there was one egg hammer, or maybe 3 egg hammers to actually defeat, and again, they were a pain in the ass, especially when we wanted to take off the helmets. During the stage, it felt like, yeah, you were taking down not only Eggman, but its entire fleet as you just activate a self-destruct every time and watching you fly to the next section. Yeah, we're taking down this fortress as we go along, all accumulating in this final rail section with this giant laser shooting at you. It was definitely harrowing as the music felt very intimidating, like, yeah, you're at the end of the game now, this is the final stage. But it was so catchy at the same time, like, I love it, but I feel intimidated. I definitely want to see this be reworked into a Sonic Generation stage because of how long it is. Sonic Elite has some really cool stages. I mean, really cool, really well designed stages. Not mention really good looking stages because of the Hedgehog engine really pushing the PS3 and Xbox to what they can do, to a point where the Xbox Series X is the only console that can actually render the game as it was meant to be 2 generations later. But of all the stages, I had to choose between Savannah Citadel, aka Missouri, or Cool Edge, aka Alaska, and I chose Missouri Savannah Citadel. Because not only was it the first stage ever leaked to the public, like, yeah, this is what the next Sonic game is going to be. This is going to be boosting through 3D sections, and we're having platforming 2D sections. But it incorporated a lot of stuff of what was going to be seen and utilized for the entire game, like his boosting and drifting, his blasting through badniks, here's the quick steps, here's the swinging on vines and grind rails, not to mention the multiple paths you take, but not only going from left to right or up and down, but the foreground and background, which is you never really seen before. And it all ended with this climb up a big tree that you had to perfect the quick time event at the end just to get to the goal ring. And the cherry on top is the music is very, very similar to the credits theme of Sonic the Hedgehog on the Master System, which is one of my favorite games.